Okay, so today we're going to be talking about exponents and exponential notation. This should be already on page 4 in your notebook. Okay, so make sure you only glue the bottom so that you can lift up, like so. So the bottom should already be glued, so you have a little bit of room so you can see the other side. Okay? Alright. So at the top, we have exponents, and exponents are going to be mathematical operation that causes repeated multiplication. So something that goes over and over again, repeats. There's two parts to exponential notation. There's the base, which is the number of variable that is being multiplied repeatedly. So the number that's being multiplied over and over again. And then you have your exponent that tells you how many times to repeat the base as the factor. So the base is what's being multiplied. The exponent tells you how many times to multiply the base. Okay? So again, two parts. You got your exponent, your power, which is your little number, and you have your base, which is your bigger number. So this is 2 raised to the third power. Okay? That's an exponential form. Alright, so base and exponent. Expanded form is when you take the base, and I'm going to write it how many times the exponent. So since the exponent is 3, I'm going to write the base 3 times. So I'm going to write 2 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. That's an expanded form. Simplified or standard form is when I'm actually going to solve the expanded form. So I'm going to multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So the expanded form is going to be 8. So 2 to the third power is also 8 in simplified form. So this would be read as 2 to the third power. Okay, so 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed. Okay, so cubed means 3. I'm writing it 3 times, cubed. Okay, so you can say 2 to the third power or 2 cubed. So the little 3 means cubed. So special exponents, okay, 2, 3, and 0. So 2, anything to the second power, means squared. Okay, so when you're measuring area, length times width, you always square the units. So it's always going to be squared units. Okay, the third, anything to the third power means cubed. Okay, that's when you measure volume. Okay, so volume is always length times width times height. You're multiplying 3 things, so it's going to be cubed. Alright, 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is always going to be 1. No matter what number it is, it's always going to be 1. So you can have 100 to the 0 power. It's always going to be 1. You can have 2 billion to the 0 power. It's always going to be 1. Okay? So anything to the 0 power is always going to be 1. Can you guess the pattern with a base of 10? So if you have a base of 10, okay, so if 10 is the base, look at the following. 10 to the first is 10. Alright? I'm just writing the base of 10 one time. 10 to the second, or 10 squared, I'm going to write that base twice. And I know that 10 times 10 is 100. 10 to the third, or 10 cubed, means 1,000 when I solved it. But that really means in expanded form, 10 times 10 times 10. Well, 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 times 10 is 1,000. Then 10 to the fourth. I'm writing 10 4 times. And that's going to be 10,000. So what's the pattern? Okay, So if you know that the exponent tells me how many zeros I'm going to write. So how many zeros are in 10? 1. So there's 10 to the second, 10 squared. How many zeros do I need to write in 100? There's 2 zeros in 100. 10 to the third, how many zeros are there in 1,000? 3. And 10 to the fourth, well, how many zeros do I need for 10,000? 4. Okay? So this is how you figure it out. If 10 is the base, here's how to find the answer. Write a 1. Look at the exponent. Okay? And the exponent tells you how many zeros to write after the 1. Okay? So for example, if I had 10 to the 6, so I would write 1. The exponent tells me how many zeros I'm going to write after the 1. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be 1 million. Okay? Alright, so let's practice together on this video so you understand in class when we practice. So write the following in exponential notation. So that means I have a base and an exponent. So 4 is my base, which is being repeated. And how many times is it being repeated? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 to the 6th. Don't have to solve it. I just have to write it in exponential notation. B is y times z. Well, the y is my base and it's being repeated twice. So y squared, or y to the second, times z to the first. And I don't really have to write the 1 there as an exponent, but we know that's just 1z. Okay? We have 2 is being repeated 3 times, so that's 2 to the third, or 2 cubed, plus then 5 being repeated twice, so that's 5 to the second, or 5 squared. And that's all I really have to do. I just have to write an exponential notation. Don't have to solve it. Okay? Now this one means to simplify, so that means I have to actually solve it. Okay, so first of all I'm going to write out 5 to the third, or 5 cubed, which is 5 times 5 times 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 is 125. Okay, so 5 cubed is 125. 4 squared, or 4 to the second, that's really 4 times 4, so 4 times 4 is 16. Okay. 10 to the 6th, this is also my special case where I have a base of 10. So all I gotta do is write the 1, and how many zeros do I need? The exponent tells me how many zeros. I need 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? It's a million. Right? Anything to 0, 8 to the 0 is always going to be 1. Remember that special rule for 0. 2 to the 5th. Okay, well 2 to the 5th, if you write it out, how many times am I writing out the base? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well I know that 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8, and I know that 2 over here times 2 is 4, so 8 times 4 is 32. Okay? So 2 to the 5th is 32. Then down here you got to do some comparing. So right here I have 2 to the 6th. So I'm going to write my 2 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Then I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to solve it, simplify it. Well, you know that if 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 here, and then these 3 2s, 2 times 2 times 2 is also 8. Well, 8 times 8 is 64. So 2 to the 6 is 64. Then I'm going to write out 8 to the second. Well, 8 to the second is going to be 8 times 8. Well, 8 times 8 is 64. So that's also 64, and so these values are equal to each other. 15 to the third, 3 times. Okay? And then 16 to the third is 3 times. Okay? We know that 15 times 15 times 15 is a lot less than 16 times 16 times 16. because 16 times 16 is a bigger number than 15. So that being multiplied by itself is going to be bigger. So we said 16 to the third is bigger. And then the last one, 24 to the 0 is 1. 75 to the 0 is 1. So they're both equal. Okay, so there you have it. These are your exponent notes. Okay, so be prepared to talk about exponents tomorrow in class. And remember, you can review this video as many times as you want to. Alright, see you soon.